The breaking news just keeps on flowing in for the Chicago Bears. Welcome in. My name is Harrison Graham. You're watching Bears Now by Chat Sports. Tremaine Edmunds has been released. No trade, as the Bears, I'm sure, exhausted their options and ultimately are cutting Edmunds loose. That'll clear $15 million in cap space. So on today's show, we're going to break down the release, kind of the Edmunds tenure, talk about all the news that's happened. Of course, DJ Moore was traded, and what could be coming next is all of a sudden the Bears have created a lot of salary cap space in just the last 30 hours or so, with Drew Dahlman retiring, DJ Moore getting traded, and now Tremaine Edmunds getting released. But if you want to support the program, hit that subscribe button. We are getting closer to 159,000 subscribers. Also, if you want to follow my social medias, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, all at HGrahamNFL. You can find me on Facebook if you search Harrison Graham Chat Sports as well. Put out a short reaction to this news on those, including YouTube Shorts, and now diving deeper. So if you want to catch like the quick snippet news before you dive deeper, following me on those platforms is the best way to do that. So Edmunds joins DJ Moore as another exit from this football team. And, you know, it's kind of a bummer no trade materialized, but I said it at the time, and, you know, I felt as days went on, maybe a team would trade. There was reports, but I also did throw out the idea of the Bears might be leaking this to try and create a trade market when clearly there just wasn't any. Look, when it's reported, if I can find the right word, reported that, hey, this player is being allowed to seek a trade, usually that player gets cut. Now, there are exceptions. Sometimes a team will swoop in and do a pick swap or something like that. Tremaine Edmunds is still a solid player, so on and so forth. But his cap hit of $15 million for a team that trades for him, that's a large number when the whole NFL knows that the Bears need to shed that salary to make moves this offseason. We talked about it going into the year, like, hey, unless Tremaine has an awesome year, he's probably going to get cut because it saves them $15 million. Teams know that, so unless there's a desperate enough team, he's just going to get cut, and now teams can jockey for him in free agency. So I'm not surprised that this is the outcome. I thought maybe with what you got for DJ Moore, I was like, well, maybe a team will take on Tremaine and extend him and lower that cap hit, but ultimately that is not the case. Just like with DJ, I wish him well. Good moments in Chicago. I thought the first half of this year before he suffered that hamstring injury was the best football he played in Chicago, because for whatever reason, it didn't seem like a great fit in Matt Eberflus's defense. Seemed like he was starting to play better under Dennis Allen, but then he tweaked the hamstring, and after the hamstring didn't look the same. And again, he was going to have to just light it up this year to justify keeping him at a $17.4 million salary cap hit. And when you factor in the fact that they had already given TJ Edwards a 2-year extension before this season, keeping both when you're trying to get faster on defense, just kind of a non-starter. So I'm not shocked this is the end result here. I do think he'll have a decent market in NFL free agency this year, and we'll see ultimately where he ends up going. But it won't be in Chicago, and it won't be for a draft pick, as my almost 3-year-old just ran in here and slammed the door. Hopefully he's not causing too much noise, but we'll see what they do now. How do they address linebacker? That's what I'm most curious about. Can they get back to Marco Jackson on a cheap deal? Do they add, a mid-tier level free agent? I would think they're going to draft somebody. All those things are certainly going to be on the board when it comes to replacing Tremaine Edmunds at linebacker. But also, in the bigger question, in the short-term question is, what's next for the Bears? And we're going to talk about that because now the salary cap space, the rumors are flying, Crosby, Linderbaum, all that stuff. We will dive into it all coming up here in just a moment. But first, shoot your shot with PrizePicks today. PrizePicks.com/CLNS to get started. You can get $50 instantly in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. PrizePicks makes every dunk, every dime, and every board that much more exciting. So don't miss the chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. Football might be over, but you can still set daily fantasy football lineups because season-long stat projections have already dropped. You got Caleb Williams, passing yards. You got Colston Loveland receiving touchdowns. You got Myles Garrett sack totals. I've got a lineup including those three players right there, but you have tons of quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, stat projections galore. Pick more, pick less, regardless of sport. And if you hit, you can win money. And yes, basketball, it's flying. March, every single night, points, rebounds, assists. It's the best time of year for hoops. PrizePicks is the place to do it. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups once you sign up and play your first $5 lineup. Again, that is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups once you sign up and play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it is good to be right. Okay, is a big move coming for the Chicago Bears? So now the Bears are up to over $33 million in cap space, which is already a good number, but you can get even more. There's a lot of guys you can restructure. You could restructure Montez Sweat and or Jalen Johnson. You could restructure Joe Thuney and or Jonah Jackson. You restructure Kyler Gordon. You could extend Cole Kmet or restructure Cole Kmet. You could, there's a couple other smaller cuts you could do. Like there's a lot left here to even create even more space. And as you guys know, the Bears have been linked to both Max Crosby and Tyler Linderbaum, two blockbuster type of players to add to this football team. It seems like the Raiders are holding firm that they want an offer that includes 2 first-round picks. I'm not there personally. Unless they want to take on Dayo Adengbo, maybe I'd be willing to do it if they took on his contract, but that's a pretty penny to pay. And I love Max Crosby. I've said for years, he feels like someone who would thrive in Chicago. He feels like a Chicago Bear, but it's tough to part with 2 ones for a 29-year-old pass rusher who had a knee surgery. Tyler Linderbaum. Again, I love the player. He's only 25 years old. He's a top 3-4 center in the NFL. Some would argue the best. But do you want to pay him $22 million per year? You could front load the deal and still have money to go get a pass rusher. In theory, you could get Max Crosby and Tyler Linderbaum. It's not impossible. They could make that work if they really, really wanted to. They'd have to get aggressive with some restructures, but those possibilities are all out there. Here's what we know for sure. They're going to be active. They're going to make moves to look to improve this football team. I think cutting/trading, if you could, of Tremaine Edmunds was the right move. I think trading DJ Moore was the right move. But those are still players that were quality starters for your football team. Like, you're going to need to add talent elsewhere. Now, I think at receiver specifically, you have guys who are ready for bigger roles. Clearly, linebacker, that's a position that's a work in progress. I would look at the draft for at least a starter, maybe a mid-tier free agent to add to the group. We'll see what they do there, but we know they want to add a pass rusher. They still have to figure out safety. They have 0 safeties under contract. Is Kevin Byard coming back? I don't know where that sits right now. I'll check my phone, see if I have any updates, but not seeing anything right now. The last tweet I got was Tremaine Edmunds will have a market in free agency from Jeremy Fowler. No surprise on that. So it feels like something's in the air. It feels like something's coming for the Chicago Bears. It's been a busy day in the NFL. Danielle Hunter just got a 1-year, $40 million extension, so he's off the table. He's now under the books in Houston through 2027. It's like a 2-year, $70-something million contract, so he's not going anywhere. So if he was an option, he's not anymore in a trade. Max Crosby's the next big domino to fall. I still think he's getting dealt. I don't know how long the Raiders hold out. Do they drag this thing out into Sunday, maybe into Monday? Do they drag it into free agency and see if they can get the biggest offer possible? I think if they wait until Monday, teams are going to start to look elsewhere. They're going to look at Trey Hendrickson. They're going to look at other options in free agency. From what Schefter said earlier, from what I've heard elsewhere, it doesn't sound like the Bears are in on Trey Hendrickson. So if they don't get Crosby, I don't think they'll pivot there. I think they'll look more at like short-term options like a Khalil Mack, perhaps bringing him back on a 1-year deal could certainly make some sense. So we'll see where it goes. But the Bears have a lot of ammunition now to make moves. They have the 2nd-round pick now in the DJ Moore trade. They have more than $30 million in cap space to go be aggressive in a trade or in free agency. So buckle up. Things are happening. It's going to be quick here with free agency on Monday. Wouldn't shock me if something happened later tonight. And if it does, we will break it down because that's what we do. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and lock us in here on Chicago Bears Now. Farewell to Tremaine Edmunds. It never quite fully came together for him in Chicago, but he still had some big moments and is a good player and by all accounts a great dude. And I don't think there's a better way to say goodbye to Tremaine than by saying this. It's Chicago! Yeah! Best of luck, Tremaine. Bear down.